wrote on her recipe that she shared. I figure you've got all the practical and usual recipes, so I'll throw in a few different ones. Here's one for Flemish Beer Stew. And this is Heritage Ways, where we honor home, celebrate heritage, and spread hope. You are here at Heritage House in my kitchen. So if you remember back in the summer when I got acquired 2 or 3 recipe collections, this is from that one of those collections. This is written on that, is it called onion paper? Onion skin paper? What's it called? You know, back when people would type on that stuff. In the good old days. That reminds me. When I taught school, I used a Xerox machine. And there is nothing like the smell of a Xerox paper. So either you like it, I mean, it brings back memories of, as a student, getting that Xerox paper even warm from the Xerox machine for your test at school. The teacher would pass them out. Brings back memories as a teacher too. But anyway, I digress. Xerox machine. Some people might not even know what that is. So she typed at the top, Mile High Strawberry Pie. And she typed that. And then she wrote the Flemish Beer Stew. Now, the reason I'm making this, I've never heard of Flemish Beer Stew. But I'm making it because I actually found this recipe written or typed several times in the 2 collections that I received from the Wisconsin vicinity or area. So I thought, well, you know, we probably should make it since it was written several times. And it kept popping up. So I thought, okay, we'll make it. So I'm actually half in the recipe. So I'm going to give you the half measurements. So just know that. So you're going to want to double what I'm telling you if you want, it doesn't say how many this feeds, but if you want more than what I'm making. So I have 1.5 pounds of roast. Now I want to point out right here, this is called an English roast, and I have never heard of that cut, English roast. To me it looks like a chuck, so I'm not sure, but anyway, the recipe calls for boneless chuck, but this is what I found. 1.5 pounds of this. I'm going to chop it up into 1-inch cubes. Half a cup of flour, teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of fresh ground pepper, if you have fresh ground. A little bit, couple tablespoons of oil, whatever cooking oil. This calls for vegetable oil. It calls for, we're going to need 3 onions peeled and quartered, but I already had these chopped, so I'm actually just going to use the chopped onions instead of getting more out and quartering those. A clove of garlic chopped, and today I'm going to use this. I like this as a kitchen hack, this little tube. I get it at Kroger, and you can just squeeze out what you need. Easy to use. It calls for, I'm going to need 1/2 can of beef broth. So I think a can is about 10 ounces, so I'm probably going to need about 5 ounces of beef broth. 1 cup of beer, and I'm using this black and tan. I like this for pizza crust too sometimes. It really makes a good pizza crust. And then chopped parsley, which I don't have in front of us, a bay leaf, and thyme. So let's get started. I have mixed up my salt and pepper and flour. Recipe says to add the meat cubes in there and coat them real good. I cut off most of the fat. I know that they say flavor is in the fat. I get that. But also, if it is not an organic, a grass-fed meat, the fat, you know, the fat is bad for you because the toxins are stored in the fat. And so I don't serve my family if I can help it. meat that, or fat that is not organic, grass-fed. I'm making a mess. So that's why I cut the fat off. I know some people eat the fat, which kind of is gross to me, but Mr. Patient does. That's okay, I guess. But if it's organic and grass-fed, it's actually healthy for you to eat the fat. But it's not if it's not. I am making a mess. My little bowl was too small, I think. Okay, so it said in a heavy pan, so, you know, cast iron rules the day, right? So I'm going to put, it said to use the flour to coat the meat, so I'm actually not going to dump all the flour in here. We're just going to have a burned mess if I do that. So I'm going to reserve the flour, just, you know, I'm not going to throw it away just yet. I'll throw it away if I see I don't need it or something like that. Don't want to make a mistake, but I've got my oil. Now this is a gas stove. Yay. A little bit over medium. I've got my oil, and I'm actually going to put, I don't know if it's hot yet, but we'll wait just a second. And I'm actually just going to take my slotted spoon and dip out my meat to put it in there to brown it. Now we're cooking. Now we're sizzling. And I'm just kind of, I don't want excess flour on here, so I'm just kind of shaking it off. A little bit at a time. Certainly not going to dump it in there. And I don't move it right away. Let it get brown for a second. Move it right away. You're going to lose all that flour off of there. Okay, so if I actually was doing the whole recipe, which is double this, I'd probably brown it in batches. I may still have to do that. Maybe not. Get it all in there, and then I'll move it here in a minute or two. Not right away. Same when you're frying any meat. You don't want to put it in there and then move it all of a sudden. Let it sit there and do its thing. Okay, see, there wasn't much flour left, so I'll throw that away here eventually in a minute. See, it's been sitting there a couple minutes. I haven't even touched it yet. Because I don't want to just make a mess with all that flour. I'll stir it here in a second. Alright, now I'm going to start moving it around a little bit. Trying to see if I can get all of them on the floor of the cast iron here, the bottom of the cast iron. So the flour on this is going to help to thicken the stew, y'all. I don't know why it's called Flemish Beer Stew. I don't know if Flemish is the kind of beer I was supposed to have found, or if, I have no clue, but, you know. Maybe it'll taste good. Mr. Patient doesn't like the flavor of taste of beer. But he does like that when I use that in that pizza crust that I mentioned. I don't have a recipe for what I'm talking about. Maybe I should. I mean, not recipe. I don't have a video for what I'm talking about, but maybe I should. Okay, just browning this. I'm going to turn it to medium. Remember, it's a gas stove, so it cooks hotter, more accurately, actually. If you're debating on what kind of stove to get, I vote for gas. Recipe says, brown the meat, add the rest of the ingredients, cover tightly, and simmer. I want to go ahead and add these onions because I want to get them just a little bit browned or fried, if you will. And then be careful on this because it could burn. I'll wait a minute on that, but I'm not stirring that in there. Kind of almost letting the onion steam for just a second. All right, let's stir it again. Those wonderful bits of flour are on the bottom. It's going to thicken the stew. Now, I'm not trying to completely cook all these bits of meat because it has to cook for an hour and a half on the stove. So they're going to cook. Just getting them brown. Now I'm going to add what amounts to about a clove of garlic. Okay, now we're getting to the point where we might be in danger of sticking or burning the garlic. So I'm going to just make sure all of the meat is kind of in an even kind of layer, maybe. And then we'll start adding the rest of the ingredients. Okay, if you're writing this down, I'm adding a cup of beef broth. It says a can, of course I'm halving it, so I'm estimating half a can will be about 5 or 6 ounces, but I know this is gas stove, and if I have to cook this for 2 hours, it's going to cook down. So I'm adding a 4 cup, which is 8 ounces. And then a cup of beer. Half a pint. Bay leaf, a teaspoon of crushed thyme. Rub it between my hands, put it in there. I'm just kind of making sure nothing is already stuck to the bottom. This is going to be stout. It's going to be hearty. And look, that's half a recipe, so I think that's going to be more than enough for 2 of us. It says cover tightly. Got to get my lid. My lid needs to be re-seasoned. So, real quickly, just because I can tell that I am going to rub a thin layer. I got this butter sheet out here too. Thin layer of grease the inside because I don't have time to season it before this, obviously. That's not seasoning it, but at least it's not completely dried out. Kind of a layer of protection there because I didn't realize that before. Okay, so I'm turning it down. I'm going to put it on the back eye and I'm going to simmer for 1.5 hours. It said 1.5 to 2 hours, but you know, gas cooks faster. Put it on the lowest heat. Cover it. It does say to stir occasionally. There you go. So, stir occasionally, add water if needed, salt and pepper to taste. And then I'm going to tell you how we're going to serve it and enjoy it. right, Mr. Patient.
Oh, we're on already?
We're on. Look, we've got this ambiance or something going on. I don't know.
Well, I'm in the dark.
You're in the dark. I'm going to refrain from comment.
Easy.
Okay. We have Flemish Beer Stew on a rainy Ohio day.
Okay.
Let's taste it. We've got cracked wheat buns. So this is a rustic stew served on boiled potatoes. I did choose to boil them in their jackets. Thought that was more rustic than peeling them. It smells good. It's very hot. It is good. You like it?
Yeah, I like a hearty stew.
Well, on this here day, I made several videos, and the video I made early this morning was corn chowder, which I can link above. But we tried it, and the taste was very, very good, but it was super thin. And I said in that video, I don't prefer thin soups.
I don't either because they're not filling to me.
So they're not satisfying to you. I mean, honestly, you like something that's stick
like
to your
hearty.
ribs, hearty.
Yeah, I want to. If I sit down and eat on, unless I'm getting a snack, I'm gonna fill up.
Well, that's filling. It's just thin, and you have to drink the rest of it instead of eating it with a spoon. This is really hot. You're supposed to add salt and pepper to taste, and I forgot that. And also, I was supposed to have parsley, and I didn't have any. This actually was super easy. I would keep, this is a keeper. I would make this again. The corn chowder I made earlier today, that wouldn't be a regular, but this might be a semi-regular.
Yeah.
I just made half the recipe because I didn't know if we'd like it, but it made plenty for 2 of us.
That's a meat and potato stew you ever had that?
It is. Thanks for watching, y'all. Hope you'll try the Flemish Beer Stew. Look forward to the next time we get together to talk about food and cooking.